Welcome everybody to this Helpful Village March 19th release webinar where we're announcing new changes to Helpful Village software. This is the agenda for the day, the usual agenda. We start with a couple of reminders. There are some news, new features, and then we have some time for discussion at the end. Everyone is muted in the call to reduce background noise, but this is an interactive session. If you have questions or something that is not clear, maybe the best thing to do is to write something on the chat. I'm not looking at the chat, but Anastasia is. If there is something that is really relevant, we can start the presentation to address those questions. And then you can also unmute yourself if you have a pressing question. But in the meantime, we can get started with these reminders. First, this is a release webinar where we are announcing essentially us talking to our villages about new changes in the software. Next week, there is a more interactive session that is a Q&A where you can ask your questions to our team. This week, we are talking. Next week is you are talking, and we're answering your questions. The webinar, the Q&A webinar is at the same time, at the same place with the same link. So if you have questions, put that on your calendar. And then the next Helpful Village release webinar will be in April. It's always third Wednesday of the month. Here are a few links to very useful customer service resources. There is a Helpful Village training docs guide. It's a table of contents of all our training documentation. The Helpful Village Help Center is an interactive database for Q&A, frequently asked questions, where all our documents are. You will find it under support.helpfulvillage.com. And then there is a collaborative website under Slack. It's helpfulvillage.slack.com. And that is a website you can use to discuss with other villages and also interact with our team. It's more conversational type of resource. In order to do a more effective Q&A session, you can send your email to hvusers@helpfulvillage.com. When you send an email to this address, it now goes to Anastasia that it can, basically organize these questions and put them in a logical order, make sure that all questions get addressed. And then if you can send your questions ahead of time, it allows us to basically think about the best possible answers to your questions. So the sooner you can send your questions to hvusers@helpfulvillage.com, the sooner we can start thinking about an answer. And we're hoping to meet you next week for the Q&A. This is also a quick reminder about the Help Center that I mentioned before. If you go to support.helpfulvillage.com, you will find all our documentation there. You will also find on the top right the possibility to submit a request. This is how basically you create a ticket with us, and then our customer support service answers your questions. And there are two websites. There is one website is support.helpfulvillage.com. That's where you report all your bugs or problems. And then there is another one. If you have a new idea of something that could be added that is new, that goes through ask.helpfulvillage.com. So we always manage bugs before we do anything else. Okay, now when you're creating your tickets, we want to be efficient and respond to your tickets quicker. So there are a few suggestions we make. First, if you can use a clear and descriptive title explaining what the problem is, because sometimes we get tickets that say help or something's not working, but that doesn't give us information about what the problem can be about, and it's harder to find your ticket. So if you can say what the problem is, it's great. If you can provide specific details about the problem, if it was with a particular user, it happened when you click on this button, on this screen, etc. The more information we have, the easier it gets to get that problem resolved. And then there is one more slide about automatic payments. These are payments that you make to Helpful Village for your monthly invoices. You can send a check if you're tired of going to the post office. You can also set up automatic payments with our team. If you want to do that, there is a training document explaining how to make automatic payments for your monthly invoices. And if you want to set that up, you can also contact Anastasia. She can get on Zoom and get that automatic payment process going. So those were the reminders. Now we're moving on to the news. And we have one specific news, I think, is that we created a new training document. And the training document you can find clicking on this link or just simply going to support.helpfulvillage.com and searching by the title. But we created a new training document about how to set up volunteer paid background checks. So you can request background checks from Helpful Village for your volunteers, and different villages organize in different ways. Sometimes they receive the volunteer application form and the village create requests and pays for the background check, but background checks are kind of expensive with the criminal background checks and DMV, etc. There are fees associated with it. Some villages prefer, as a part of their volunteer process, to invite their volunteers to pay for their background check. And if you want to do that through Helpful Village, you can integrate that. You can create an email template. Your volunteers are invited to basically make a donation to pay for the background check online. And then once the background check gets approved, well, basically they become active volunteers. If you want to know more about this topic, you can simply open up this training document. And maybe, Anastasia, while we're here, maybe it's a good thing to copy this link into the chat, on the Zoom chat for the people in the meeting. Just makes it easier. And then after that training document, we're going to be talking about changes and modifications to the website. These modifications are, as usual, are not on your server yet, because we like announcing these changes before they happen. So this will be coming to the server starting from tomorrow until Sunday. So before the end of the week, these changes will be present on your server for all villages. First change that is important is that we are modifying the way we collect the ethnicity and race questions for your members, but actually for all villagers. So we took a few print screens here and this is basically how the Census 2020, so the United States Census, the question they were asking about race and ethnicity. It's kind of funny because race and ethnicity sounds like an easy thing to do. But actually, it's a super complex topic. It's like, what is the list? What are the options? What are the values that should be suggested? And then, so basically, we have tried to come up with a really simple process that is as similar as we could to the official 2020 census for these choices. And I'm going to explain to you how do you do it. But basically, there are two questions, and we invite you to choose. One is, it's basically the question that was, this is actually from the actual form from the census. So a question about ethnicity, if the person is Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin. And then the second one, which is the person's race with all those choices. So I actually didn't want to make any personal choices of those options. I just took the super official census with the official list of race and ethnicity that are official for the government. So you can use it. So this is where we got the information from, but these print screens are not from Helpful Village. These print screens are from the official census form. In Helpful Village, you will find this information under the admin profile of any person. And then there is a field, and I'll show you a demo of this. So don't worry, I'll show you how to find this. But in the general tab, for those that know Helpful Village well, you have the first name, last name, etc. And then there is a link that allows you to show more fields, including race, ethnicity, and gender. And those fields will now contain the two drop-down boxes you see there, one to choose the ethnicity and the second one to choose the race with the same options we saw. There is a slight difference with the official census, is that the official census allows for multiple box selections, like you can be multiple races and people can express that. Also, people can express other races that are not listed. We went with something a little simpler, so there's only one choice in the drop-down box. And you cannot free text it, so you need to choose one of the options, but one of the options is another race or another ethnicity that is not listed. So it's not perfect, but as I was saying before, this topic is a lot more complex than it sounds. But it's good. And now the other thing that I wanted to say is that I'm very happy that we could find kind of a very official set of values for race and ethnicity. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that these two things are very important for multiple things to understand who is in your villages. So that's just knowledge and expertise. And a secondary reason is that a lot of grant applications require villages to submit the race and ethnicity. So having this information, collecting this information from your members is helpful for many grant applications. And I'll demo this later. So I'll go to the demo website and I'll show that once I'm done with the slides. So don't worry if you're wondering where to find this. There is another change we're bringing this month is enhanced security for the password requirement. So any person that goes onto Helpful Village and is invited to log in is invited to choose a username and password. Not a username. We're using their email, but they need to choose their own password. And we have added some requirements to make the system more secure. So there are new requirements, and you can read them there on that slide. If someone, when they're choosing their password, don't satisfy these requirements, the system is gonna show this error basically and saying, well, the complexity requirements for the password are not met. It should be at least 8 characters long and include 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, 1 digit, and 1 special character. And then they can choose it, and then they got their password. There are no other changes. So basically, oftentimes the browser invites you if you want to remember your password, so you can still do that. Obviously, if it's your very own computer, if it's a public computer, don't do it. Another comment I wanted to say about this is this for additional security, so that nobody's kind of hacking into the system with a lower security password, or nobody's guessing your password, because it's just more secure passwords. But there is another comment, is that this is happening for new when you change or you set up a new password. So everyone that has a password today, because we have many villages with their members that have their current passwords, they don't need to change their password. They will only need to fulfill these requirements if they change their password, but all their current passwords are still valid. Okay, keep going. Okay, this is a different thing. This is navigation, okay? And this slide is not a change. It is a reminder, because the change is actually the next slide. So this is, we were discussing with a new village, and they were trying to set up their volunteer activities. And we explained to them, okay, if you want to create your volunteer activities, you need to go to admin, to the menu, admin, people management, and then groups. And inside groups, you can go to volunteer services, and then you create your volunteer groups. And those groups of volunteers are basically your volunteer activities. But for new villages, it's also, we learn from them about how to make the website more understandable when you're a beginner. So in addition to this way, so this way remains the same, but basically we also listened to what they felt were more intuitive. So now there are 2 ways to get to the volunteer services management. One is, as I said, admin people management groups, right? That you have been doing all these years. And then we added a new way, which is you can also do the following. You can go to menu, admin, services management, and inside services management, we just added a link to volunteer activities. So those 2 links actually go to the same place. If you're used to do admin people management groups, you can keep doing that. But now you have a few more options. If your brain is working in a different way about, okay, I'm setting up my services management, I want to set up my volunteer activities, you can also get to the same place with this other navigation. So just making it easier to navigate the website. Okay, this is a totally different topic. So this is about membership renewal notices. So with Helpful Village, you can send automatic emails to your members, so that inviting them to renew their membership. And this was existing before. You can find this functionality under menu, admin, settings. Under settings, there is an email tab, and under email tab, there is an email templates button that allows you to find all these email templates, which is just an email template with the language you want to use and reuse. So that is not new. That's the exact same thing. The new thing is that now we added a new auto task for a renew notice 3. So I'm going to actually explain this in the next slide, but basically you can set up to 3 different email messages when in your renewal process. For example, I'm going to actually show you right away. If you go under menu, admin, settings, and then you go to the membership tab at the bottom of that screen, you see actually what you see in blue at the top. You will have these renewal emails, and you can set up a periodicity, a period of time before expiration date to send your notice. So basically you can, as you can see in this bottom half of this screen, I'm sorry, my explanation is not very clear, but basically you can set up renewal emails, right? And then we added more explanation though. You're saying you can send, if you read the 3 last lines, right? It says 1 month before expiration date, you can send an email template for autotask renew notice. 10 days before expiration date, you can send a different email template for autotask renew notice 2. And then 5 days after expiration date, you can send another automatic email. We send renew email template for autotask renew notice 3. So what I'm saying is that you can write 3 different emails, up to 3 different emails, right? 1 month before, you can be super polite about, well, your expiration date is coming up soon. You can follow these instructions to renew. Then if for people that have not done it, and only for those that did not do it, you can send another email 10 days before expiration date, and then it goes with a different email language, different email template that would be renew notice 2, where maybe you can have a little language that can be maybe a little bit more pressing because they're closer to expiration date. And you can even send another email, renew notice 3, for those that did not renew. Where you can say also, well, your membership now is expired. This is what happened, but you can still send a check, or you can still make your payment and reactivate your thing. So you can have up to 3 opportunities to communicate with your members about renewal. The way you do that is, as I was explaining on this slide, you can go under menu, admin, settings, membership tab. At the bottom of that, you see the list of emails that we're sending. By default, when we create Helpful Village, I think we set up only what you see at the top. We have 1 month before expiration date, we send an email template that is renew notice, okay? But then if you want to send more than one automatic email, you can contact our team and say, okay, this is the schedule that we want. We want to send renew notice maybe 30 days before, and then 10 days before, renew notice 2, and 5 days after, renew notice 3. And actually, the number of days can change. If you want to do 15 days before or on the day of expiration, you can tell us what is the schedule that you need, and we can associate that scheduler with up to 3 renew notice. We made another small change, right? And that's why there is the blue at the top and red at the bottom. So in the current version you have on your server, if you go to menu, admin, settings, membership tab, it only says renewal emails, 1 month renew notice. So there was no explanation. It was very raw, kind of a little bit like software developer kind of language. But now, because we're working with a village, we just made a much more explanatory section, right? Where we keep the same title, renewal emails. We added a better explanation saying X days before expiration date, the server will use the email templates with all the things that are happening. And we show a little bit of a better description if it's 1 month before expiration date. So we added more language so that we can understand that screen better. So there is a little bit of better display of the renewal email scheduler. And then we also added this renew notice 3. You don't need to use all 3. If your village prefers to use one renew notice only 30 days before, that's fine. If you want to use 2, you can use 2. If you want to use 3, just tell us up to 3. You can tell us the schedule you want to use. And you request that through ticket, because you cannot change it yourself. We need to, because the scheduler is in the back end. So you can create a ticket saying, okay, we want to use renew notice 25 days before, renew notice 2 15 days before, and then renew notice 3 on 10 days after. And then we just set that up for you and you write your renew notices. Now, another thing that is important is that we can set up the scheduler, but the scheduler is going to look up if there is a renew notice that exists for that auto task here. Here. Under menu, admin, settings, email tab, email templates. If you have not, when we create Helpful Village, we do not set the auto task for your email templates, because you have not had an opportunity to set up the language you want for your automatic emails. So first thing you need to do is, if you go to email templates, you create the language, you give it a title, and then you need to select the auto task you want to use. If the scheduler doesn't find an email template for that auto task, we send nothing. So there are 2 steps to do here. One is to schedule them, and second, create an email template that is associated with the automatic task. Okay, next improvement. I'm gonna pause for a second because that one was tough to swallow. We're moving to improvements about events. So we realized that we had a problem with ticket sales. So you can have events that are free and some other events for which you sell tickets. And we got a request from one of our villages that was selling tickets with a kind of a particular case. So when you're selling tickets, the system will automatically show, as you can see on the left, the number of tickets available. In this case, it was 18 tickets available. But they had a situation by which some of the people that had purchased a ticket could not come and the village had a process to basically refund them or something, but they were not coming. So they went to the participants list of that event, and they changed their status of their participation from accept, registering for that event, to decline. So we know that they were not coming. But basically, the way we were calculating the number of tickets available was not taking into account that someone could decline after purchasing a ticket. So we just made the system a little smarter, so that if someone purchases a ticket, but then their presence status is set to decline or waiting list or anything like that, it's like we're just not going to count that in terms of the tickets available. Um, so basically, if someone declines their presence, that ticket goes back into the bucket and it becomes available for sale again. This is an easier improvement. This is essentially just user interface. So when it's also for events. So when you have events, you can change the settings of the event and say who can attend that event. You will have some events that are open to all, and anyone can register. And you can have other events that are members only. And you can have another setting, which is members only, login required. So you want to have the members that log into Helpful Village before they sign up for that event. In that case, what we were doing before is what you see on the screen. It says member only. It doesn't allow people to enter their first name, last name, etc. Because if not, you cannot anonymously sign up for this event. But you need to sign in. And then we have this weird sentence here that said sign in instead. So we changed that, and now it's a little better. If it's a members only, login required, we're going to show this button. That is a lot easier to see, and it just makes a lot more sense. So just making it easier for people to register for members only, login required events. Okay, this is another small change we did for events. And this is when you're registering for an event. We had a checkbox here, and you register for the event, you give your first name, last name, your email address, etc., and then you keep going. And then one of the questions we were asking is that there was a check mark there. And the check mark there used to read this. It said, add me to the event mailing list. And if the person opts in, right, or checks that box, what we were doing is that we were adding them to MailChimp, and then we were adding them to the events mailing list for future reference, and then so that they get information for the weekly, email about events. But someone told us, and it makes a lot of sense, is that it was a little confusing, the wording, because it said add me to the event mailing list. So some people thought that they wanted to sign up for updates about this particular event, which is not true. We were subscribing them to the events mailing list. So there was just a wording problem here. So we just changed it, and now it's a lot more descriptive, and it will read the following. So add me to and then the name of the village. In this case, it was Beacon Hill. So add me to the Beacon Hill Village mailing list. So the people, when they check that mark, they know what they're doing. If they want to be there for the mailing list, they can check that mark. And if not, they don't check it. But at least if it's less confusing, they don't get to think that they were signing up for the mailing list of that particular event. So this is just wording. But I'm happy to do it because it was confusing before. So now it's easier to understand. Okay, so this is, yes.
Just a quick question about that, because I was thinking it was checking that box was how they got the email reminder about that event. So
yeah, it's not.
So if they don't check it, anybody who signs up for the event will automatically get the email reminder?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you for the question. So I'm glad that you asked that question, because it shows our wording was not very clear. So this was signing up for the mailing list of future notifications in MailChimp about events. So if this is not checked, the person still gets the reminder, because it's not marketing, it's not spam. It's just, well, you signed up for this event, it's happening tomorrow. So this check mark here has nothing to do with the particular event reminder that you can set up to go the day before. These two different things. But thank you for the question, Christy, because clarifies things.
So if they're on the mailing list, they don't need to check it again, right?
If they are not, exactly. So what we're going to do here is, like, if they're going to be asked the question, if they're in the mailing list, we're not going to add them again. If they're already there, nothing happens. Obviously, if they were not there in the mailing list, they will be added there. So yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so these are changes to the platform. The next slide is about some changes that we did. It's not visible on the website, but we had talked before about the fact that we are now offering possibility to do a marketing website with Helpful Village. And we have news about this too. So this will not go to your platform, but this is something you probably want to know, is that we have now the possibility to build a marketing website, which is not the data related, but just more stylish websites for your village. And then for that, we have a process, and that is a little bit like this. So you can request a free Zoom meeting with our team if you want to go beyond the website that you currently have and explore more stylish or design options. And then during that, and basically after that meeting, we understand more about what your goals are. There's a questionnaire about what are the type of changes you want to do to your website, and then different questions about design. Then we do a quote, and then there's approval if you want to move on, and then a kickoff meeting, and then just launch your new website. So if you're interested in looking at more design options for your website, you can contact our team through ticket or email with Anastasia, and we can set that up. We actually created the first marketing website for one of the villages that is in development right now. It's Mount Diablo Village in California. And so we already created a first marketing website, which is rather simple for now because they are starting, but that we're getting also acquiring more discussions with other villages that are working on their website. So if you want to have a marketing website discussion with us, you can, as I said, contact Anastasia about that. And then this is a slide we had here for some small changes we did to maps last time. And then this is Q&A. But before we do Q&A, I would like to show you a demo of some of the changes I mentioned, because sometimes when they're in a slide, it's one thing, but you want to know where that is on the particular platform. So first thing that I will do is just the navigation thing that I said before. Like, let's say that we want to add a new volunteer activity. The way we have always done it is the following. It's like you come here, this is nothing new. You go to admin, people management, groups. And when you're in groups, you have groups of different categories. You have groups for your check-in module, for interest groups, and these interest groups are connected with Village Talk. You have mailing lists, and these are groups of your active members. These are the mailing lists that are linked to MailChimp. You can create groups of people that have one particular tag. And then you can also create groups of village builder activities and volunteer services. So basically, if you want to create a new volunteer activity, you would do this, volunteer services. And down here, you have your current volunteer activities. You can go to the bottom and say, I want to create a new group. And at the same time that you create a new group, right? Let's say there's no removal group that we have created previously. You can add people to that group. So basically here, if I want to become a volunteer in snow removal, I would be added here, and now I'm an active volunteer in this group. So that remains the same. That there's no change there. But basically, when we're speaking with this new village that is starting with us, they wanted to create their volunteer activity. They didn't find it that way. They didn't understand that going through people management groups was the way to create volunteer activities. And what they were suggesting, and I think made a lot of sense, is just going down here, services management, and under services management here, you can now find this menu here. So the volunteer activities, service evaluation, check-in management, etc. So basically everything related to services. And if you click on the first link, it goes to volunteer activities, and volunteer activities takes you to the same place. It's actually under groups, volunteer services, the same place, just a navigation trick so that people can find this page easier. But if you're used to the old way, it doesn't change anything. There are two different ways to get to the same place. Okay, there is another change that I absolutely want to show you, is that if we go to any particular person, actually, let's go to my mom. And then you pick that person. You're familiar with this because it's the general tab of the admin profile of this person. And then you have email, first name, middle name, last name, etc. And then now here at the bottom, you have phone, cell phone, etc. Now here we changed this. This field was not here, was somewhere lower here. Actually, to be precise, it was in between these two boxes. And many people were asking us, like, I cannot find these extra fields, etc. It's for a good reason. It was in a weird location. So now it's down here. It's like a possibility. We have some fields that are not showing. They exist. It's kind of a little bit too much detail sometimes. So now you can click on this link, and you have more fields, in particular those about race and ethnicity and gender and other questions. So you click on this link, and it reveals other pages here, which include uh, ethnicity, and race, and other fields also like the bio that people can manage, quick note, a salutation, mailing name, gender, sexual orientation, pronouns, etc. All these fields that you see here, secondary email, English fluency, all these fields remain the same. They existed before. Um, Maybe you had not seen them because the link to reveal them was not as obvious as it is today. But they existed before. But the change that we added also is, in addition to placing the link in a more visible way, is also the choices for the race and ethnicity. So if you go down here, you see this person of this exact same question that the census was asking. Is this person of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin? And this ethnicity census 2020 standard. If you open that, right, then you have these questions that are exact same answers that you have in the census 2020. So it's now not of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin, yes Mexican, yes Puerto Rican, yes Cuban, and for my mom would be this. And then second question is what is this person's race? Also with the question from the option from the Census 2020 standard, which is white, black, African American, American Indian, Chinese, Filipino, Asian Indian, Vietnamese, Korean, but Japanese, other Asian, and then all of these things. The only thing that we added to the list of the census is this other option here, which is decline to state. So you might be, asking a person to, or interviewing your members, asking them if they want to say what their ethnicity and race is, and if they prefer not to say it, then you can have also these other status of decline to state. If there is also this other option, which is some other race, and this option of some other race was included also in the Census 2020. Census 2020 is a little bit more advanced because they allow you to choose some other race and also write down what that was. Where we don't have that option, we're just trying to keep things a little bit simpler than the thing that they did. But all these options are super official now for race and ethnicity. And you can just change those settings, and then you go down here, and then you just update, save button. And those get now saved in my mom's profile. If you go down here, more fields. Yes. And then I didn't choose anything for race, so it's not showing because I would need to call my mom and ask her. And I'm not doing that right now. But you can do that. This also question is present in the application form for members and volunteers. So you can choose also to add the race and ethnicity question to your volunteer application form and your membership application form. Christy, you had a question.
Yes, I was just going to ask, is there a way with some other race to put, or combination of races? I just know that I have a lot of people who are mixed, and rather than having to choose one, is it just possible to include that with the some other or combination?
Yeah, so it's an excellent question. So the recommendation from Census is to have instead of having a drop-down box here, is to have these multiple checkboxes and allowing people to choose multiple races at the same time. It is not here at this time, so you cannot do that multiple choice. The actual reason is that is a lot. I mean, it's harder from the database perspective because here it's like, okay, you have one field, you choose one of these values, and then in the other case, you need to persist. It can be done. You see what I'm saying? It's not technically impossible, but it needs more effort. And to be honest, I'm still thinking about this. If we should go to this extra layer of complexity to add it, how much sense does it make? It's more complexity, and maybe sometimes, it's more precise, but even if it's more precise, does it make the math a little bit more complicated? So I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. It's an excellent question. If you look at the census, it is multiple choice. But also they don't have the same.
I see your problem when you're collecting multiple, the data field gets larger and it's harder to display. I was just wondering if it's possible for one of the choices to be combo or mixture.
Yeah. Actually, no.
Just tell people to choose.
But then you don't know what they are, right? So that's kind of a problem too. So everything is a problem. So this race and ethnicity is kind of funny to me because funny. What I mean is that it seems like an easy task. It's not easy to just get to a standard. And now even if you have the standard from the census, it's still harder than that because you can have this multiple choice. And then you need to do calculation of the percentages in a different way. Because if you have a person that is biracial, then what is the percentage of, let's say, African Americans in the village, if there are multiple things and you're counting them with one race or two races, etc. It's like, I don't know. It's like, but it's an excellent question. Maybe we should. So maybe what I'm doing about this is that I'm gonna take another extra step because I'm not doing this alone. I consulted with other people and consultants that are connected to the government to see what should we do. This other person recommended this multiple race. I can do still a little further investigation, and maybe we can modify this to be more advanced and more complex with multiple choice, but not before this weekend. So this month we go like this, and we might want to add more options for these choices in future versions. So if you are of those that think that we need more, a little bit more complex multi-race choice, then wait a little bit because I'm going to still pursue and ask some additional questions to see if we need to change the way we display this and the way we store this in the database.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the question, Christy, because you allowed me to tell you everything that was in my mind, my personal debates. Jim, you had a question about this too, or about any other
Yeah,
thing?
yes, it's about this. Our membership manager enters all the data fields when we get a new member and things like that.
Yes.
Would the membership manager be able to access this menu also?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. No, it's a great question. So need to double check that, but they should. Yes. And now for those that didn't fully understand that question, is this, Jim? You tell me if I'm wrong, but basically, some people in villages are full admins and they can change all the information about this person. But you can also give smaller rights to some of your managers. You can be a member manager and not an admin. And then the member manager, they can see some of the tabs you can see here. But for example, they can see, they cannot see the activity or the prospects or the documents, etc. But they can see obviously the membership tab. They can. Assuming they can see also the general tab. I will need to double check, and if they don't, but I get your point. I just don't remember exactly, but it makes it makes sense for me for the member manager to be able to see this information, to change it, including race and ethnicity. So my answer would be probably yes. Is it the way it's working right now? I would need to double check, but if it's not, we probably should do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see why a member manager would not be able to, basically. It's always about, well, is it okay if they see this information and if they can edit it? I mean, if you're a membership manager, I think you should be able to come here and change any of the information here. So I said yes. Well, perfect, Jim, for the question. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have a question for Jody, from Jody.
Okay.
And the question is if it's already available or the changes we mentioned, or when it's going to be available.
Yes. So all these changes, and we do this every month, is that none of these changes are on your server this time. We like announcing them so that you see them coming. And then basically these servers are going to be on your website anytime between tomorrow and Sunday. So before the end of the week, it will be there. What we like doing is going on Slack and announcing when the new version have been uploaded to all servers. And if we do it tomorrow or Sunday, it depends about the urgency. If we see something that cannot wait, we need to do it right away. In general, we prefer doing it during the weekend so that it has less impact on your operations. But yeah, it will happen between tomorrow and Sunday. Perfect.
Okay.
I was
Thank you.
looking here.
One more question. Yes, one more question from Carol.
Yes.
It's about the requirements of the passwords. If everybody will have to change their passwords.
Yeah. No, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that question. So basically, no, they don't need to change their passwords. Before in the previous version, we were not requiring kind of a symbol, for example. If they didn't have a symbol, their password will still be working. But if they come here, they can come down here. Admin, change password. And now, I actually don't know if I remember my password. And they're trying to set up a new password. Here, when they're changing it and choosing a new password, yes, they would see the new requirements. And so when they change it and also for new users that are creating their password for the first time, now they need to satisfy the new conditions. Yes. But all those that didn't have it, that have already their password, they don't need to change it. Now I want to show another thing that I mentioned during my slides. I'm just looking at my list of improvements. So it's this thing about settings. It's this thing about the renew notice, right? So when you send your renew notice for your email renewals, so you can see that here is admin, settings, and then if you go under membership, right, you have different membership types you can manage, the grace period and things like that. And at the bottom of this, you have all these new text that we created for you here on the renewal emails. If you go to this exact same place today, you will see this is a lot shorter. It doesn't have all this paragraph here explaining how this works, but we felt that it's just easier to understand if we add a little bit more text about what these renewal emails auto tasks are about. So this is explaining how this works, and then you can have the scheduler here. We're sending an email 30 days before expiration date. We send renew notice number 1. If 10 days before expiration date, we send renew notice number 2. 5 days before after expiration date, we send renew notice 3. As I said, you can contact our team if these values don't work for you. Probably in your website, most of the time you don't have the 3 values because we added the 3rd renew notice this month. So if you want to add, you can tell us how many up to 3 you want to send of the renew notices and on what frequency, how many days before or how many days after. And then once you choose the schedule that you want, you need to go to the email templates. And you can go to your list of email templates in 2 ways. You can click on this link. It's a shortcut to go to your email templates, or the usual way, which you have probably used, you go admin, settings, that will bring you to the same place, and you go to email. And here is email template. These 2 links or 2 buttons go to the exact same place. You go to email templates. And then in email templates, you have this list of basically email templates, pre-written email templates that are being used for different tasks in your website. For example, here, the renew notice is here. You can edit this one. And then you see here that the renew notice, you choose the title, you choose the email category, and if it's an email template of the email category membership, you have multiple options here: renew notice 1, renew notice 2, renew notice 3. So you can create a new email template and then associate it with the auto task. If your email template is not ready, right, you start here with none, and then basically this email template is using for nothing, right? But once your language is ready and ready to go, you can just come here. It's like, okay, my email template is ready, and the email template looks like this in this case, right? Like a dear first name, your membership tag is like this. And then once it is ready, you finalize the language of your message, you just come down here and you associate it with one of the auto tasks. In this case, it's renew notice. You can create a different one for renew notice 2, and then a different one for renew notice 3, and other email templates you probably have already with these other answers. Great. Okay, so that was the other piece of demo I wanted to show you. And those are the more complicated kind of features that I want to demonstrate to you. There are other ones that were more obvious, so I don't need to show the kind of changing wording or language for email event registration. But if there are any other questions about any of the new improvements or features, we can take those questions.
Hey, Manuel.
Yes.
This is Maria. In this renewal, we're doing this by hand. This is wonderful.
Okay.
Is there a place where you set the time for these renewal notices? I saw it as a text, but I didn't see it within this particular area.
Okay, yes, good. So I show it. First, you need to create the email in email template, right? And then associate it with one of these auto tasks. And then second, for the when, right? To activate these 2 steps, it's like one, the email template needs to exist and be associated with the auto task, right? And the second step is that you need to go to settings, and you can do this, Maria, on your website, right? Today, you go here and then you go to membership and you go to the bottom. And then you will see here, when are we sending? And here we have some the scheduler is here, but the scheduler, you cannot change it. You cannot change the 1 day, month before. You can see it, right? But you cannot change it. If you need to change it, it says it here in the new paragraph we wrote. Please submit a helpful video ticket if you wish to add or change the scheduling of these emails. So send us a ticket. We'll get it done for you. We will not write the email for you, right? You create the email template. But the scheduling of it here we can do for you. Yeah. By the way, while I'm here,
so
I will also show you another thing, is that we have a checkbox here that you see in the same settings membership, which is send the automatic renewal emails. If you have your emails template set but you want to activate or deactivate, you can also, uncheck this box, and then we're not sending them. But so it needs to be checked here. There needs to be something in the scheduler down here, and then the email template need to exist. I hope it's
Okay,
easy
so
to
just
understand.
let me just confirm this. So we cannot
Yes.
change when the once after we make the email templates, we cannot change when they go out. They must follow this particular format.
So we're almost there. So basically, you cannot change it yourself, right? But you
Right.
can send us a ticket and tell us, okay, instead of 30 days before, in our case, it makes sense to send it 60 days before for the renew notice one. So we can change the dates, but you cannot do it on your
Okay.
own. You need to send us a ticket with a frequency or the days before and after.
Okay.
So
Okay.
basically, another way to say it, Maria, and not only for you, but other people in the room, is like, here, you see, this is a read only. You cannot change it, right? And because you cannot change it, well, then you submit a ticket, we can change it for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank
Perfect.
you. This is wonderful.
Okay. I'm glad you like it. Okay. Do we have any other questions about any of the new features today? Anything we demonstrated? Yes.
Hi. Somebody posted, will there be a new associated report to view the ethnicity data? And I agree with that question.
Yes, there is a great question. So we definitely, yes, we need to, right? Because that's why we're collecting the information. I'm trying to remember on which reports are they, and then let's go see. Admin reports, and then reporting docs. So we will be adding it in more places, right? So what I mean is that we just added these new fields, so they will probably be coming to other, for example, I know here, if you go people management, reports, membership evolution, I know we're doing something here with the number of members and the members' ethnicity and stuff like that. So they're showing there. But then also, we are also here in the reporting docs. If you pull the list of your active members, here, if you choose, so this is pulling your active members, right? And with a set of the membership information, member since, expiration date, and stuff like that. But you can choose these boxes here to add more information. So basically here, information with membership, and then basically with the socioeconomics, and I believe ethnicity, race and ethnicity are already in the socioeconomics. I'll double check before we release it, but that's how it goes, at least in the spreadsheet files.
Great.
That's a great
Thank
question. Cool. Christy, you had another question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No,
I had a question
good.
about the renewal notices. I was, because we're at the point where we're getting ready to start signing on members. I haven't used any of this section of the website.
Yeah. Yes.
But I wanted to know, is there an option for automatic renewals? Like, say, if our social members don't have dues, is there a way to say, your membership will auto renew unless you kind of reverse, unless you reply? Or is that too much?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Let me see. We have something here, but from what you're saying, maybe we can do also more. But basically, here on settings, you can go to membership, and then you go to membership types. Okay, and then in membership types, you can create new membership types, right? This is demo, so we have 25,000. And when you create a new membership type, I'm gonna do it. And this is how can I call this? It's like active plus membership. You can call it anything. So basically, I would call it that way. And then basically, you come down here and say, okay, how many members? You can want individual or 2 for household membership, for how many months, full membership rights as opposed to social members, and then what is the renew email template that is going to be used for them. Anyways, your question is more about this. You need to set up the fees, right? And basically, maybe these membership fees are $200. Some other options here, which is visible on the application form or not. And then on monthly payments, if you want to allow the monthly payment, you can say, okay, this costs either one-time payment of $200, and then we have a $20 payment. So I understand your question, which is when we are reaching the expiration date 12 months from now, what happens? So today what happens is that if they are on the one-time payment, the renew email notices go out inviting them to pay. And if they pay, that renews, right? And if they don't pay, they expire and they are no longer members, which I understand is not what you want. Let me explain how it. Yeah, let me maybe explain how it works today, and then I'll maybe about suggestions for changes. But so the other option is like you can come here if you activate the monthly payments, right? And then you choose whatever fee. It doesn't need to be divided by 12, but can be any number here. Then we set up so that when you're setting up the monthly payments, you can add the credit card information for the member, and then every month we're withdrawing the money from that credit card, right? And then at the end of the expiration date, if they did not renew, we will stop the automatic monthly payments. Okay. So I understand that it's not what you wanted, which is auto renew of them, right? But like they committed for 1 year, so we took their monthly payments until they expired, and then we stopped. Then we did this for one village, which is saying, and this was super interesting. They had a person in their village that they wanted to be forever member as long as they live, right? So what they did is like every time we take a monthly payment, we're extending the expiration date by 1 month. So this is kind of an auto renewal in a way, right? You see what I'm saying? Because now it's like if we change the expiration date, we never reach the expiration date, and therefore for that reason it's an auto renew. But the auto renew in this case is associated with a monthly payment because here we have a payment method. You see what I'm saying? In this other case, you pay, they send a check, you send them, but then basically they don't auto renew, and we don't have any way to charge. Even if they pay with a credit card, we're not saving their credit card information unless they set a monthly payment. So now that I explained to you how it works, it would be interesting. You can tell me how you see things, kind of more philosophical things. I imagine you're suggesting that even on the one-time payment, you would like them to auto renew?
Well, yeah, but I also just realized, I think I know another way around it would be to change the expiration date farther out.
Yes, I mean, if you change the expiration date, yes, but the problem is associated with the payment, right? So if the good thing with the monthly payment is that we only extend the expiration date once we receive the money, so it's like we never go unpaid. In the other case, if you have with a one-time payment and you change the expiration date, the problem that you are creating a new problem in a way, which is, okay, now they're still members, but they're not paying. So they're behind with their payments, and it's kind of difficult to reconcile. So I don't know, we can leave it up.
For the ones that didn't pay a fee, like for the social members, if we have them not paying a fee.
Yeah. In that case,
sense.
Yeah. So there are two questions there. So if you change the expiration date, which you can do manually, well, then they still members. So that you probably solve the problem. There would be another question for the general audience here. Maybe that conversation, we don't have enough time today, but we can discuss on Slack or something else. Like, should we have an auto renew option on one-time payments so that it automatically changes the date, and then in a way they owe us money that we cannot collect because we don't have a means to collect it? So it would be like, it's not obvious. Kind of, first, can we just auto renew them for another extra year? And then if we do it, what happens with the missing payment? It's like, so it's kind of more of a discussion. It's not really a technical problem. It's like, how do we think it should be done? So I don't know. Yeah, I think with these kind of things, it's hard to discuss it live on Zoom because, there are multiple different opinions. Sometimes it's easier to take this conversation on Slack where, we have 10 different people, and then you just write down, like, I think auto renew is good because I like it this way. And then we could find this solution. And another person says, well, no, I don't think that works because for that other solution, it's just easier to start the conversation that way. And if we converge to a solution for this auto renew on one-time payments, and then it's easier to go. But for now, it's like, I have the feeling we don't have kind of a perfect solution to it. But it's cool. But I like the question. Dorothy, you had the perfect solution. Or another question.
No, I want a description of a social member. That isn't something we have. What's that?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that question. So it's up here in the membership rights, right? So it's an option, right? And then you can choose full and social. Some villages do this, and they have different membership types. And for each one of the membership types, they can choose this setting. In the helpful village, we choose this setting. and someone is in a social membership, they will not be able to do some things. In particular, they will not be able to create service requests. So it's usually for villages that have members that want to either support the village or participate in social events, kind of register for events and all of that. But the distinction in the software is like, if you're a social member, you cannot create service requests. You cannot have volunteers or providers come help you.
Thank you.
Great question. Okay, perfect. And then I don't see any other hands raised, and it's perfect. We are about the top of the hour, so we can finish here beautifully. And then we are also meeting next week. So if we have other questions that are coming to mind or other solutions, we will be here in the exact same place. But the difference is that instead of being asked during the talk, is you are asking the questions and us trying to respond to those. Please send those questions ahead of time to hvusers@helpfulvillage.com, and we will put them in the agenda to answer those questions.
There is one quick question. One more quick question about the social member rights.
Okay. Yes. What was that question?
Like, what rights do the social member have?
Yeah. Oops, we're losing you. No, but I think that one, what rights is we just said also, the social members is like can do the events, and then but they cannot do service requests. Mostly it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, perfect. Dorothy, did you raise your hand again, or is that the old hand you had before?
Yes.
Okay.
I did. We didn't get to my questions last month on the Q&A. So they'll be automatically responded to?
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. So basically, Q&A, right? So it's not today, next week, same time as today, on the same address, webinar.helpfulvillage.com. So what happens, like you send us your questions ahead of time, and then we put them in the agenda. But then we have many questions, which is good. And then because we don't have time to answer all of them, they are in the agenda for the next session. So if you already submitted it last time, it is there. We'll start there, and then the new questions go into the bottom of the queue. So if you already submitted it, it's on the document, so you don't need to submit it again. And then Jim, you have another question.
Yes, this is just a follow-up on the password. Wouldn't it be advisable for all members of our village to make a new password using the new criteria?
I love that question. So I love that question because it's in this quest of thinking how can we ensure the maximum level of security? And your suggestion is more secure than what we have. But it's a balance between, a higher level of security and basically how much disruption are we creating for members that had their existing passwords before. What I'm thinking, Jim, is that we can, at least for now, do it on a village per village basis. See what I'm saying? So you can contact us, and if you want all your members to reset their passwords, we just can, run a query that set their password to basically, just basically to not initialize. And then in that case, they cannot log in until they do it. So we can basically force them to do it and also send them an email inviting them to do it. But what I'm saying is that if you want to do it, I like your suggestion. Okay, I can repeat that basically. What we announced today, right, is that we have a stronger requirement for passwords. We have better password requirements. People need to have a capital letter and exclamation letter. But those requirements apply for people that change their passwords or users that are setting new passwords. What we're doing today is that we are not canceling the passwords that were done before today. And Jim's question is, well, wouldn't it be more secure to cancel the passwords that people had before so that they set up their new password with the new security standards that are better? So what Jim is suggesting has a better level of security. So I kind of like it. But then also can be annoying to people that is like, oh, suddenly I need to change my password. Why is this happening? And then you have, 50, 100 members that need to go through that, etc. So what I was saying is that for all villages that want to go with a more secure option of inviting all their members to reset their password, we are happy to do that with you. But it's not a requirement that we apply for all villages at this time.
Well, I could see letting members know that we're going to implement this.
Yeah.
Give them a week or 2 week notice, and then have you put that in play where they had to before they could sign in again, they have to create a new password.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yes, but the thing is, I don't want to get too technical now at the end of the webinar, but the thing is, like, we don't see the passwords that people have. So we don't know if they have. So we only test the requirement for password when they're creating it in the security library. I actually, if they change that before, right, in these next 2 weeks.
No, we won't do it. We won't do it. We won't do it right away. We'll wait for it implement, and then we'll work it out with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We can work it out with you. So now, just Jim, I think we are on the same page on saying, well, if you want to have better password for all your users, we can work with you individually. But just to make sure we don't confuse other villages, for other villages, unless you ask us to do so, you will have a stronger password requirements from now on, but we're not changing your existing passwords at this time. I hope it's clear for everybody. If it's not, just ask, or we can talk about it next week. But basically, there is no change for existing passwords, only for new passwords. I'm sorry, that killed the mood a little bit for the end of the webinar with the kind of security question and passwords and stuff like that. But it's good. That's the last question of the day, and then we'll be meeting again next week. Thank you all for participating, for your very interesting questions and contributions, and then we look forward to meeting with you next week again. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.